What's happening, everyone? Kyra and Ben back again. This week, we are covering The Wicker Man. Now, we are doing the 2006 version featuring Nicolas Cage. This is not going to be the original from 1973. Ben, tell me about your history with the film.
There's an original from 1973?
Oh my goodness! Yes! And both of them are based on a book called The Ritual.
I knew the book called The Ritual, but I did not know the first one. I just knew the one with Nicolas Cage because it had come up, and I was like, oh, well, we'll just do that one.
Yeah, no, obviously. I think the Nicolas Cage one is more popular because, of course, Nicolas Cage. I was surprised because I had seen this movie, not like when it had first been released, but like back when I was like in high school, I had seen it. And I forgot how many people were in this movie.
Yeah, there's a star-studded cast, and they're just like underlying. I think it's like they're the beginning of their careers, maybe.
Well, not Ellen Bernstein.
No. No, Ellen Bernstein's been around a while. So.
She's been around a while. One thing about Ellen Bernstein, real quick. I just saw the new Exorcist Believer recently. Horrible movie. Please do not watch it.
Oh, it looked like it had so much potential.
It had legit so much potential, and it was so stupid. It was so bad. It was so bad. But Ellen Bernstein was in it. She did reprise her role from the original. And spoilies, they do bring back Linda Blair as well. But it's bad. Please do not watch it. I just wanted to mention that because I saw Ellen Bernstein. I was like, she's following me around. Nice. All right. So back into The Wicker Man. So yes, this is a film from 2006 featuring Nicolas Cage. And it is kind of like a folk horror. I would call this a folk horror. Last week we did cover Midsummer, and off air we were kind of talking a little bit about the similarities between the two. So I think it's really fun to lead in with this movie. So for those who don't know, The Wicker Man is a story about Nicolas Cage, who is a cop, and he gets a letter from his estranged fiance who just like abruptly leaves him. And this letter is like, you have to help me come find my daughter. I'm on the island. I'm on Summer Isle. Like, I need your help. Can you come? So obviously he comes, and there's a lot of weirdness on the island. It's very female-led. Everyone kind of talks in riddles. Every time he turns around, he's like left with more questions than answers. And then we get the big reveal. So we'll kind of go bit by bit. But I do really want to talk a lot about the before we begin, I do want to talk about the similarities with Midsummer, because I do love this like kind of idea of like communes and cults and this kind of like horror. And I know we had covered Cannibal Holocaust, and then we had watched separate movies called Eaten Alive. And in Eaten Alive, the version that I watched, or the film that I watched, they had a cult aspect of it as well. So I think it's really interesting how cults and horror are kind of synonymous sometimes.
Yeah. I thought, I didn't really think it was cultish. I thought it was more like medieval traditionalist. Is that something that could be?
I could see that, but I do think I absolutely 100%. But I do think that there is some level of like cult and like commune underlying, just yes. Like with like the leaving and the coming back and like the way that they speak and their rituals and how they like worship these like pagan gods and like, so things like that to me felt very cultish. The way that I love how they treated men in this. I thought that was so funny. You guys know me. I love female-led horror, so I love when women are in power. But I did think it was really funny how like Nicolas Cage comes and like he sees all these like desolate men, and he's like, I need your help, and then they're just like, nah. They're like, we're just gonna sit here and eat and pretend like nothing is going on. So it is interesting. I can see why we are doing this one right after Midsummer. What are some of your main similarities that you wanted to discuss?
Well, I thought a lot of it was like the fertility. Fertility played a big part in both of them.
Absolutely.
I also thought that, like you said, the women empowerment over men, the women in dominant society, like, you know, sort of like Amazonian. I thought that was kind of like interesting. You know, the fact that it was like societies that are like basically surrounded by like true societies, like, you know, what we deem as a society. And these places are like tucked in the middle of these hidden, like, and they're actually like happening like while the whole world's going on around them. This is happening in these areas. So that was kind of cool and creepy.
But very, very cool. And what I liked, one similarity, because you brought up fertility, that I liked was The idea that these communes and these cults are so isolated that they do have to search for outside people to keep their gene pool clean and to not have inbreeding. And I thought that was interesting. And I like my biggest similarity that I saw was the way that the women in this, specifically at that final scene when we see Willow and I forget Lily Sobieski's name, but Lily Sobieski, they're integrated back into the real world. And we see them kind of trapping and catching their next victims or their next like sperm donors, which is basically like how they view men in this. It's like, oh, you're a sperm donor and we're going to sacrifice you to get our honey. Like,
Yes.
because that's all Nicolas Cage was. Like, he had to be willing. He willingly had to go to the island. He willingly had to enter a sexual relationship with Willow. He willingly had to like look and try to rescue his daughter to get trapped. Oh yeah, that was a plot twist. Sorry guys. I spoiled it.
Now I have a question. Like Nicolas Cage was a cop, and at the end of the movie, they're talking to another cop. Do you think, do you think that's like, that's what they're searching for? Like, do they think that that's kind of like a more noble warrior, like a knight?
Well, so that's interesting that you bring that up because there is a lot when he's talking to Sister Rose, who is the teacher. She does refer to him as Sir Knight and actually makes a lot of references and comparisons to him and Don Quixote, which I thought was really interesting. And I would believe that yes, they do look for people who are deemed to have like, and I'm using air quotes, like noble professions, protection professions. But I don't think there's any way that they could have known that James Franco was in the academy.
Unless they scoped him.
And they absolutely could have. I mean, I don't know how much research into the real world these guys do. If like they have like the whole little police like catalog and they're like, okay, who are we gonna find?
I think the Don Quixote reference is kind of cool because Don Quixote was delusional about his like what he saw and what he believed, and so was Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. But at what point was Nicolas Cage delusional versus like being coerced?
Yeah, well, he did have that accident, the traumatizing accident that made him. Like, was it real though? Like, I'm kind of confused by all that because was there the girl in the car that blew up, or was there not? Because there's a couple of scenes where he looks and there's no one, and then the lady said, "We found no one."
The car was unregistered, but to me, like, I totally believe that, like, I can see if the movie, and maybe this is a testament to bad writing because I have never read the book, so I can't speak to like the mysticism in the book. So if you guys know anything about it, please write in, please correct us. Obviously, with that being said, I feel like they were not powerful enough because we know that they do these ritual sacrifices and we know that they have these religions and these traditions, but nothing to me screams overt mysticism that would make him be able to hallucinate an accident like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Just like the way they do it, it makes you think that something else is going on. Like because they're like, oh, there was no one in the car, and then it's just like, was it set up by these people to make him see this little girl and like want to seek out this other girl to help? I mean, was it plotted? Like, was this because the little girl like throws the thing out into the street, and then all of a sudden she throws it again, and then the truck hits. Like, was it set up to be like a ploy to get him into coming to this cult?
I mean, I don't know. See, I go back and forth with this one because I don't believe so because I don't think the cult had mystic powers like that. Like, I don't think that they were witches like that. You know what I mean? Like, if we were in Suspiria, which we had just covered, where the witches actually make the therapist hallucinate that he's with his wife to lure him to the building. In this, you have like, because there's no way, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are powerful enough and I'm just like conflating the two, but I don't believe so because I believe that there's no way that they could have controlled that from the outside, right? Unless they decided to sacrifice someone of their self without registering the car and without finding the bodies. And I mean, we did see the car blow up, so it is very plausible that they just burned alive.
Yeah, that I can see it. I mean, it's just like the whole thing seemed like it was set up for him to like envision this girl and help him. So maybe it was just his mind. Like his mind had snapped from the incident, and caused him to want to be the gallant knight. Because Don Quixote's mind it snapped, and that's why he became who he was. He saw like the giant, which was the windmill, and like his mind played tricks on him, and maybe Nicolas Cage's after the accident did the same to him. So
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I just don't think that they caused it. I think that it was a catalyst that helped him get there to the island. Like maybe if he felt like he could, like since he couldn't save this one girl in the car, he could save this missing girl on the island. They're both like young and blonde, and you know what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know though. You guys watch it. Tell us what you think. Obviously, we can have different interpretations of a movie. That's why we have this podcast. So yeah, I thought, and then I thought it was like, I don't know. It was very interesting. I don't know. I just don't think the witches were as powerful as that because then I feel like they could have had stronger magic to like keep him on the island and like to keep things better versus like, oh, like physically, like, I felt like there was a lot of physicality to like what they were doing, like actually like killing and actually tying up Ronan to make him think that they were going to sacrifice her. Like, they did a lot of things that like is man-made versus like metaphysical.
yeah, I see it. Like in the one movie, it's like actual magic, and this one is more illusion. They use illusion and tricks and mirrors to try and make it look like something. Like even they say it, like they say, "We got you. We made you think this. We made you think that." And he's just staring at him like, "What the hell's going on?" And then the girl that was his fiance, he looks at her and he's like, and she's like, she has no emotion, no caring. She's clearly she's part of it, and she's like, the leader. Not the leader, but the tavern. No, it was the leader. Says, "Oh, my daughter," and he's like, "Your daughter," So like, it's you could see like the brainwashing of the society on these people, where like no one out on the outside matters. It doesn't matter what kind of physical relationship you have with them. Like the only thing that matters is the cult.
Absolutely. And that's why this is a cult because you have that brainwashing cemented into you. But I do think everything was very planned. And I think all the words that they used, even though it seemed like they may have been like tripping over their words and like revealing things that they weren't supposed to, I think it was all very intentional. The scene I'm directly referencing is when Nicolas Cage is talking to Sister Rose and she's like, "Oh, she will be burned." And he was like, "Will be burned?" Like he notices the tense changed. And she's like, "No, she is burned." So I think that was sort of like a ploy to be like, "Oh, she's still alive. And there's a chance that you could save her." And I think that is like those subtle manipulation tactics that they are using to kind of move his thinking. And I think Willow was a big part of that because she's like, "Oh, I came back." And it's like, okay, well, why would you come back? Like, there's no reason why you would come back if you didn't align with the ideals of the cult. So I thought her kind of deceit towards Nicolas Cage was very interesting. And then even at the end, when it's revealed that she is the daughter of Summer's Isle and Ronan is her daughter, and this is all a ploy, and this is like how they do things to sacrifice men in the Wicker Man so they can have their honey and like okay. Besides that, one thing I wanted to say is I thought when we saw that 6 months later, I thought it was going to be because they were successfully selling honey, like not because they were trying to find another victim. I was like watching, I was like, "Oh, the honey came back, the magic worked." But and then I don't know. So I thought it was funny. It's kind of silly, goofy time. Nicolas Cage is all over the place with his acting. He does like the "I'm brooding" and then "I'm screaming," and I don't know. I thought that was very silly. But I did like I don't know. I feel like too with all these like folk horrors and with this like earthy sort of pagan things. Like obviously everything comes from the earth and we have to worship like all of the animals, but the like use of animal masks I think is like so crazy. Also, another relation to Midsummer is when Nicolas Cage gets into the bear costume to invade and like kind of sneak into the parade. I was like, "Oh my god, Christian was in a bear costume too." They both burned alive.
Yeah, I 100% caught that too. I was like, oh, a bear costume, bear. I mean, because it's supposed to be strength. And I thought a good reference too was the fact that like the main source of everything was honey, and it's queen. The queen is the most dominant in the hive, and everything else is just drones. And that's how I felt like this was the thing. Like they have the drones, and then and the queen runs everything, and such as the leader of this cult.
Oh, 100%. And I think that imagery is very much repeated when he is in Summer Isles' home and he is like, "Where are you? Where are you?" And she's like in that like very beautiful bed, kind of like very queen like and like ethereal. And you see like her ladies around her. And I think that scene was very much like, yes. And then you see like the decrepit man like in the bed as well. Like, is she using him? We see the girl covered in the bees, and I was like, that's just like for nothing. Like that means nothing. That's just like visually cool. But I thought it was really interesting. I did like all the like hive and like hexagonal sort of honeycomb placements that you see subtly throughout the commune, like on the ground and in the walls and all this. Like you can tell like the bee imagery is very much there. And they use this as well when they have all the bees buzzing like around them and like the background sounds. So it's all very interesting. It's all very cool. I mean, I think if the story was written better in a way that was a little bit more cohesive, the movie would have been better. Then we would have had some answers to these unanswered questions that we're talking about. But I mean, bad writing is bad writing. Nothing can save that. Not even good cinematography. Not even Nicolas Cage screaming and burning alive. But I did think it was really. It's a fun watch. It's very silly at the end when he just starts punching every woman in the face, and then he like kicks Lily Sobieski into the wall, and then she like appears later. I thought that was funny. I was like, yeah, Nick Cage, you can kung fu your way out of all of this. Don't worry. But like, and then I thought it was interesting, like how you can see how these like other women like do the bidding of Summer's Isle, right? So like we see Nicolas Cage, they have the plane driver or the pilot, and we see that he dies, and we see that his mouth is sewn shut, and like it looks very much like a ritualistic killing. And we find out that like one of these older women have done it, and like who the one that owned the inn, I would kind of call her like the like second in command, right? Because it kind of felt like she was like the enforcer, and like everyone went to her, like the general is what I would call her. To Summer Isles is like matriarchal queen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought she was definitely one of the powerful ones in the community. Another thing I thought that was kind of cool with the reference to the bees is like bees go out into nature and they pollinate in order for nature to flourish. You know, they get the pollinate and they bring the pollen from plant to plant to plant to get them to like fertilize. You know, and like this is kind of like she sends those people out to be fertilized. You know, and then come back to the community to make it blossom.
Exactly. And then you kill your baby daddy. And this is the cycle, and we have honey, and everything is fine. What I thought was so interesting was all the cover ups that everyone was trying to do to kind of keep this mystery like alive for him. And back to the ideas of do they seek out cops particularly? I feel like maybe they do in a way that is because they know that cops like the mystery and they like the chase and they like solving the mystery and they like feeling important and they like all of these things. And I think they leave little clues and little things like this for Nick Cage to do and find. Like when like when he goes down into that like water tunnel, like yeah, valley, I don't know, and he gets like trapped under there, and he finds like the sweater, and then he digs the grave, and he finds like the burned doll, and like he's finding all these like little clues that's helping him piece it together, kind of like they were just laying there planted out for him to get him to the spot that they need. Like everything is way more orchestrated than he believes, and that what I think we're led to believe as viewers. It feels like this is something that they do all the time. Like it seems like the kid was like maybe 5 or 6. I don't know. I don't know children's ages. Every child looks exactly the same. Like 5 or 6, and then it's like, okay, so you wait 5 years, and then you lure this guy back to save his daughter that he doesn't know is his daughter. You reveal that, which also is another manipulation in the mystery of like getting him emotionally invested, because like at some point like a cop is like, okay, I'm gonna find this kid, I'm gonna find this kid, I'm gonna find this kid. It's not my kid, but like I'm gonna do my job, I'm gonna like protect children, whatever. And then you see the flip after him and Willow have the conversation where she kind of lets it slip that it's their child together, and he's like, my kid, da da da. And I think it's so funny when like he has no relationship with Ronan, right? He has no relationship with his daughter, but then like he expects her to trust him enough because he saves him. He's like, come on, my dear, come on, let's do this, follow me, come to me. And it's like she has no relationship with you. Like she doesn't know you. Like yeah, biologically like you're her father, but what does that mean to her? She doesn't know. She knows her mom, she knows her grandma, who's like the most powerful person in this community, and she knows all these women and all these other kids that are supporting and laughing at men. Why would she trust you? So I thought that was so arrogant on Nick Cage's part, but I think it kind of shows like I don't know. Maybe it shows how like I'm not a parent obviously, and I'm obviously not a man, but how like men kind of view like their attachments to children. I don't know, as a father and as a man, what do you think?
So for me, I haven't seen my daughter in 10 years. So I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm your father, because she doesn't know me. So I'd be like, I'd have to reestablish a relationship. And would it be a fatherly relationship? Well, I haven't been a father, so I mean, I couldn't really do that. It would be more like, I'd have to build the trust and the bond before I could even, say I'm your dad. I mean, you have to build. Just because you have a child doesn't make you a parent. Being a parent is the one who raises the child, teaches the child, and does the right things by the child. And Nicolas Cage, I mean, not by his own fault, he wasn't with the child, so he can't be faulted that he wasn't a father. I mean, if he was a father, he probably would have tried to be with the kid. But to just expect the child to be like, oh, sure, whatever you say, I'm going to come with you. No, that's what sick people on the streets think when they kidnap kids. They're like, oh, I'm just going to take this child and it's going to come with me. So, sorry, Nick Cage, your character was wrong.
Incredibly so, incredibly so. And then like we see this again when he's like the Ronan obviously runs to Willow, and then he's like, no, come to me, and she's like, no, mom, didn't I do good? Like, this is my mother. Like, I'm gonna go by who I know. So I thought it was very interesting. One thing, if we want to talk back to fertility, one scene that happens very quickly and briefly, but I think is very important, is the scene where Nicolas Cage is walking through the island in the commune, and he sees the like not parade, but like the line of all these pregnant women that are like walking. And I think it was really interesting because it sounds like once a year they do this fertility ceremony. So they do the birth and death ceremony. And I think all these women, when they become a certain age, go out into the world to get pregnant so they can be pregnant at the same time for this ceremony. So then in 5 years' time or 6 years' time, they can then all sacrifice these men ritualistically, and I think at different times. Like, there's no way you can have all these like random men coming at one time in the island, because then they'll band together, and that would defeat the purpose of them being able to more subtly manipulate them.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that, like, for me, play back to each other. Like, when he first arrives on the island, they're carrying a burlap sack with something in it moving, and then at the end, and he's being carried in that burlap sack, and I thought that was kind of cool. And then there's another part that, like, now that I think about it, I should have realized that he was being played, is when he looks at the list of like the but the girls that are like for the traditional holidays, and like every picture has the girl except for the one that's broken and it's on the ground and the glass is on the ground, and she goes, oh, it broke last night. So if it broke last night, like if you look at the way everything's done, they clean, they make sure everything's methodically like spotless, but the glass is on the ground. They would have never left the glass on the ground. So
they would have never left the glass on the ground. This is another subtle way that they are playing this cop into being like, oh, you're figuring out the mystery. Like, you saw the glass because it broke. Oh my God, how could I not clean? Like, it's all so subtle, like manipulation, that honestly, like, I think is like pretty cool and fun. And I think we see this again too with Lily Sobieski. She's obviously a minor character in the role, but we see how she kind of plays to the vulnerabilities and like the ego of men. Because when she's talking to Nick Cage, at one point she's like, when you leave, will you take me with you? And he kind of like is taken aback by this, and he kind of thinks about it, and he's like, I don't know. And then we see that her repeat that same phrase when she's talking to James Franco, kind of this like disarming sort of like, oh, you're the big strong man, take me with you, I'll follow you, like, oh my God, yes, yes, yes. And I think that is taught to them as a way to get these men to do what they need, which is have sex with them and impregnate them.
Yeah, 100%. Every man likes his ego tweaked. I mean, it's like, I'm a guy. Listen, guys, I'm sorry, but it's true. Every man likes to have his ego stroked. I mean, if I'm sitting in a place and some, lady says to me, oh, you're very handsome, my little chest pops out. I get the shoulders throw back. I'm like, why, thank you. So yeah, I can totally see them playing these people's ego. And, and he was in the bar and he's like, I can't get no one. There's no one here. And then they walk in and he's like, oh, look at them. And he goes over with his friend, and he wants that ego stroke.
Exactly. And I think too, it's like, I don't know, it's so easy to do it, even if like you don't, like, men are so stupid. And I'm saying that in a very blanket general way. Obviously there are probably some good ones out there, but in the sense of this film and for the conversation, men are stupid and easily manipulated and not as smart as they think they are, because look what happened to Nick Cage, look what's gonna happen to James Franco, and honestly probably Jason Ritter too. Like, I took that as well as like, okay, Lily Sobieski, this is like her first time doing it, and then we have Willow there as well, and she's with Jason Ritter, and like maybe she'll do it again too. Like they have to have kids, they have to keep going. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I watched this and then it had Jason Ritter, and then I just watched Gen V, and he's in it. Yeah, he's in it. He's on the television set. And he's like, "Stop talking to me, fake my John Ritter." I'm like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "This is great." So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, he looks just like his dad.
Oh my God, R.I.P. John Ritter. But Jason Ritter looks just like his dad. And I do like Jason Ritter as an actor. To me, it was kind of like a jump scare to see both him and James Franco at the end. It was kind of like when we watched Phone Booth and Ben Foster was like in the beginning of it. I was like, who's your agent right now? Like, why are you in this movie? I don't know. And that was very funny. Well, The Wicker Man. Would I recommend it? I would say if you want to have a laugh and you want to watch Nicolas Cage overact and you want to just have a silly, goofy time, absolutely watch this movie. Is it scary? Immediately no. I was not, there's not points of tension. There's not, is like a cop mystery.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But if you watch this in Midsummer, you will be able to take parts of both of them and be like, oh, this is how they intertwine with each other, like the different aspects of the both movies like that work together. I mean, you can definitely see it. I thought that's the one reason that I liked The Wicker Man and Midsummer, because like I was putting them together. Like I'd see the bear costume and I'm like, oh my god, the bear costume, and like that the fact that nature plays a big part in both societies, like and fertility. And there's just so much. And like the part when they go into the school and they're like, what are men? And they're like, phalluses. I started just dying. I'm like, oh my god.
I honestly did start dying when that happened. And I was like, I'm going to become a teacher just so I can start teaching this to little girls. Fuck it. I love it. He's like, what are you teaching these kids? They're 7 years old. Phalluses? I thought it was very funny. But I do think everything was like very leading. And I do think the little girls are very aware of what's going on. Like we can see it because they're all kind of like taunting him at some points, especially like when he opens up the desk and he's like, whose desk is that? Whose desk is that? And they're like, it's just a desk. And he opens it up, like a crow comes out. He's like, why are you letting these girls torture a crow? It's like all very funny. And then like, obviously he's like, show me your ledger. Like, and he sees the name scratched out. Like every clue that was there that he felt like he was revealing and finding was like, I think very laid out for him. I don't think he was I'm not that he's not a good cop or like a good detective or whatever. But I just don't think the mystery was as hard to solve when all the clues are laid out for you to find in a certain manner to continue the manipulation to get you to that end goal of being in the Wicker Man. I don't know, though. I will say if you're going to watch this or Midsummer, watch Midsummer.
Yeah, 100% agree on that one. If you have to flip a coin, don't flip the coin. Put the coin down. Just watch Midsummer.
But, I mean, I do love a good folk horror. If you guys have any good folk horror suggestions, another movie that could kind of play into this as well, even though it's a different type of folk horrors, I would say The Witch or The Vitch. I don't know how to pronounce it. With Anya Taylor-Joy. I think that is a great kind of like spooky witch-based again horror. And it's like, okay, we get it. Women are evil and they're witches. But guess what? Men are stupid. So obviously we're doing a bunch of like creepy, spooky, scary movies in October. If you guys have any fun suggestions, let us know. We do have some things on the docket, but anything that we don't know would be really fun. We're doing a little bit more of American films right now, but we could always branch out. Horror comes from any culture. I mean, there are horrors that live inside all of us, and I think to have horror... So I like horror movies a lot because when I watch them, it helps me deal with my anxieties in a way that I feel like I cannot in a real world. And to watch someone be able to overcome their anxieties and overcome their fears and defeat what they consider like the big bad, I think is very cathartic. This is why I watch horror movies. Ben, why do you watch horror movies?
Because they're scary. You want to basically because they're scary. I'll be honest with you. Like I'm not I like adventure movies. I like horror movies. But I'm more of like a romantic comedy kind of guy. I mean, like I'm like the total polar opposite. Like I'm a guy's guy, I think, but like I love romantic comedies. Like I love Meg Ryan. I think Meg Ryan is amazing in When Harry Met Sally and When a Man Loves a Woman. And I just find those more appealing to me. They're more fun. I like fun movies. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think too, but at the end of the day, but especially with like romantic comedies, learning and talking about and wanting love is so primal and so desirable for us. I mean, romantic love is what we're all searching for, right? Like at some point, like we all want that, from like the songs of the troubadours to like romantic comedies to like pop songs. Now, like everyone, it seems like, is yearning and searching for some kind of connection. And I think that that is important. And I think you get something different in horror because you're seeing the different side of the human condition. What will you do when you're pushed to the limits of yourself, right?
Oh, 100%. Like, I like horror movies. Don't get me wrong. I grew up watching them all my life. I mean, I think they're amazing. I used to watch Creature Double Feature though I absolutely love horror movies. And we just watched the last voyage of the Demeter, and that was amazing. I love the fact that they went back and hit on a part of Dracula that was just a one chapter, but they actually got like a lot out of it. So you gotta watch that.
Honestly, like maybe we'll cover this movie because I also love The Last Voyage of the Demeter and I love Dracula, and maybe we could do Dracula Untold or Dracula 2000. Honestly, I love Dracula. I was also into Twilight. Like maybe I just love vampires. I don't know. But yeah, so guys, check it out. Keep listening to us. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. We couldn't do what we do without you. Yeah. Any thoughts, Ben?
Shout out to Saudi Arabia. Shout out to Ghana and Nigeria. You guys listening to us and you're making us on your charts. So we love the fact that you guys are charting us. And America, step up, America. You got to get us on your charts.
Exactly, and we'll be plugging this for the next few episodes coming up. But we are doing a live show. If you guys are in the New England area, we will be in Lynn, Mass, on October 21st. We're going to be at the Lynn Public Library, doing a little live show and talking about Ben's book Hodgepodge. We had done this a few months back, so we are doing it again, a little mini book tour. So if you are in the area and able to come by, talk to us. Tell us how much you love the podcast or how much you hate it and what movies you want to see. Like we said, we're here for you guys.
Peace.
And catch us next time on Woz Happening.